Hello everyone, my name is Tyler Cook and welcome to Module 7, where we will be learning about global environmental ethics. I wanted to start off this presentation by singing for you, and then I could entertain you, and it would be fun for everyone. But for the betterment of your ears and my own embarrassment, I'm going to refrain from doing so, and just set aside those thoughts and get on with this. Thus, I will jump into explaining to you what global environmental ethics are, and some of the key concepts which are important to all that it is. So the name global environmental ethics is somewhat self-explanatory, but for the sake of definitions, I'll throw out what ethics means. Ethics is a branch of philosophy that involves systematizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong. Put global and environmental in front of this, and then you get global environmental ethics, which comes out to be something along the lines of the values and morals systematizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong when it comes to the adjudication of the environment. Now, most often these ethics are framed around the negative aspects of what goes on in our world against the environment. These normally come from economic factors of nations' environmental advantages or disadvantages, which are normally seized by developed countries against developing countries for domestic gain back in the developed country. A few examples of some key hot topic issues on the environmental ethics front would be one that I'm going to talk about further in this lecture is land grabbing in foreign countries for domestic gain of normally agricultural aspects. Other issues may be such as specific as coltan mining in the Democratic Republic of Congo for material goods of cell phones and computer products, which are a necessity in developed nations, but we pay astronomical prices here in developed countries and exploit the workers and the resources in the developing country of the DRC and pay them next to nothing for these extremely precious materials. Other sources may be conflict diamonds in Sierra Leone, once again the DRC, or other countries around the world. Foreign investment within countries which are found to have rich oil resource deposits. A lot of time developing countries go into other developing countries which have oil and express an interest in helping them develop in terms of foreign aid, government assistance, whatever they may need for personal gain of resources such as oil. So as I was explaining before my camera decided to give out, there are also countries which dump biohazardous materials such as monitors, old computer monitors, and old tube televisions into foreign countries which are developing, such as Nigeria and Ghana, where the pro side is, oh, well, there's gold in there and people can extract the gold and sell it and then gain economic profit from it. But there's also a lot of heavy metals, poisonous, dangerous heavy metals in these components, and they are not good for health, especially in infants and children, which are most often, not infants, but children are most often people digging through these piles, getting these precious metals. So as I said, my main focal point for this lecture is going to be over land grabbing and its root causes and the effects it imposes upon governments and a population alike. Currently, the world's population is about 7 billion people, and it is continually growing birth by birth. It is estimated that by 2050 we will reach 9.2 billion people, and thus the need for food security grows and becomes a more pertinent issue in each country with each given birth. Food security is a country's ability to provide both current and future population with sufficient levels of nutritious, safe food which promote a healthy lifestyle. like I said, my main focal point for this lecture will be on land grabbing and the root causes of it, and also the effects it imposes upon the government and populations alike. So currently the world's population is about 7 billion people, and still growing. It is estimated by 2050 there will be over 2.9 billion people, and the need for food security in a country becomes a more and more pertinent issue with each given birth. Food security is a country's ability to provide both current and future populations with sufficient levels of nutritious, safe food which fulfill a healthy lifestyle. The linkage here between food security and global environmental issues is that the impact of humans, i.e. basically everything we do, affects the environment in a negative way. One of which is climate change, which doesn't seem it would affect food security so much in a way, but when you deeper analyze its factors, slight increases in temperatures are going to make what we now use as current dry land farming areas for wheat and cereals possibly infertile and desertified in the future, where we cannot use them as a source of food, and then therefore we need to find a new source of food that way. Likewise, depleting aquifers. We are depleting our aquifers at astronomical rates right now, and we need to preserve our consumption, as well as the heat's going to drop, the temperature's going to be warmer, we're going to need more water, we're going to use more, and we need to be careful of that, because once again those dry land farming areas may not be available because we have no water to irrigate them. Lastly, as the sea levels rise, millions of people are going to be displaced into other countries, which are going to need to open up their borders, allow immigrants, refugees. Also, they're going to need more food for those people, and the land that gets consumed by the sea is often fertile delta land. So the linkage between food security and the global impact of humans on the environment is that basically everything we do as a human is detrimental to the environment. Specifically, one that encapsulates basically everything we do is increased climate change. Rising temperatures, even just a couple degrees over the next century or two, are going to devastate our farmlands. The large majority of our world depends on dry land farming, and these areas which are now fertile, and we have irrigation too, luckily. But increased temperatures of just a few degrees may desertify these lands and make them inarable, or deplete the aquifers to exhaustion, where there will be no more water to irrigate these lands. Likewise, as temperatures rise, sea levels will also rise, and this will displace millions of people, and that will cause a lot of countries to have to open up arms and allow refugees in, and they have to provide for these people and accept them into their country for immigration. That, yes, this will change politics of laws as well of immigration, but this is an important issue that needs to be addressed, because we are impacting our world and it's changing before us. This brings us to land grabbing. Land grabbing is the buying or leasing of large pieces of land in developing countries by domestic and transnational companies, governments, and individuals. This process is often carried out by foreign, wealthy, developed countries for domestic gain, or in the case of transnational personal companies, for self-gain. Now, in the terms of global environmental ethics, is this ethically correct? Is it okay for a developed country to exploit a developing country for its natural land resources and aims to better their own country because of problems domestically or overconsumption? Is it fair to take away from the people that live in these countries and their own lands, and they could be using these lands for their own benefit, exporting goods and services to countries such as the developed ones, which need it, at a higher price, instead of the developing countries coming in, buying the land, and doing it themselves? This is a debatable question, and a lot of people, there's much debate about saying that the developing countries cannot simply handle the proper methods to go about efficiently taking care of these processes. An example of land grabbing, a very major one, is the land grabbing in Ethiopia. China, India, and Saudi Arabia all have gone to Ethiopia and leased land, bought land from the government. The first problem here is that they're buying it from the government and not from the people. This may have to deal with the Ethiopian government. However, that doesn't matter to China, India, and Saudi Arabia. What matters to them is that they are getting their agricultural needs. China and India have enormous populations. They need to feed their populations and cannot do so domestically, so they must outsource. It's a given. They can buy it from other people that grow it, but it's cheaper to buy land and then cultivate it themselves. Likewise, Saudi Arabia is a very sandy country. They don't have a lot of fertile land, and when they do, it's extremely expensive to irrigate it because water is not always abundant in a desert. So these companies have all gone to Ethiopia, very fertile areas of Ethiopia, and leased land. They've leased over 600,000 hectares of land, and they have been growing rice, lumber for wood, for building supplies, soybeans, and all other various crops which require, a lot of water and fertile land for self-gain back domestically. This does a double negative or double positive here. It provides jobs to the people in Ethiopia to gain money that they can live on, but it also takes away their lands, which some people need to live on. It is estimated that some 25,000 indigenous people that have lived on these lands for hundreds and hundreds of years are being displaced and said, oh, well, we're going to build this this new school and this new hospital and this little village that you can live in, and you'll have jobs nearby because of the new companies coming in. And so they say, oh, I'll move. And they end up moving, and the city doesn't get built, the hospitals start, it never ends, and then when the jobs come, they're bare minimum. They are more mechanized, importing large tractors to do this cultivation because it's much faster, more efficient, and it's better overall. So there's thousands of people which are promised jobs which don't always receive these jobs. However, it is good for the country that is exporting their labor and buying or leasing the land, because they can then feed their populations back home. So it's kind of a double-edged sword here. Whether do you feed the population and have the population of the native have the money and the jobs and the wealth, or do you allow the people back in the other countries to continue their outsourcing and their land grabbing to be able to feed their people back home? So my question for you guys is land grabbing an ethical and morally okay process in which domestic developed countries and companies utilize foreign land for domestic benefit or financial gain? And is it unethical or demoralizing to citizens of the country, the indigenous people which are displaced, the people's culture, and does it promote corruptedness within the developing government?